Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harris and I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today I have a review for you of a fantasy book, Partial Function by JCM Berne. This is the first book which is in, I guess, an Infinity Bagua technique is kind of like the subtitle, but I don't think that's like the series. So this is the first book in this sort of series. However, it is set in the same universe as the Hybrid Helix, and apparently there are some plot elements in this that lead into book 4. So JCM Berne himself told me to read this one before I read book 4, so I am following my instructions from my one of my favourite self-pub authors. This book, what is it about? It is a Western style. So Joe doesn't actually describe it as a Western. So it's a wuxia style. So if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of like a Chinese martial arts inspired fairy tale sort of kind of mystical fantasy sort of setting. So if you've seen the Marvel movie Shang-Chi, it's like the beginning of that. That's that part of that movie where it's kind of like this kind of mystical, ancient, fantastical kind of Chinese martial arts setting. So we follow the main character, who you see on the front here, Akina. She is the master of Infinity Bagua, which is basically a school of martial arts. She's from the Azure clan, and basically she kicks ass. She has 2 twin daughters who were kidnapped by the mysterious enemy known only as the Reaver, who is using martial arts techniques that are kind of like frowned upon and disliked, sort of, I guess is a good term. So he's using these kind of like frowned upon techniques to build this army, and he says that the army is for one reason, which is that these dinosaurs, giant zombie dinosaurs that are referred to in the story as the Wedge, they're already on this planet, but they are coming back in huge numbers in what is called a wedge surge, which the human race of this planet only just survived previously. So the Reaver is like gathering power using these forbidden techniques in order to be able to be strong enough to protect humanity from this wedge surge. That's what he says. We are led to believe by Akina that he is not somebody to be trusted, and obviously, you know, he's kidnapped 2 children. Now Akina realizes that she doesn't have the strength to take him on because of all this power stealing he's been doing, so she decides to kind of round up her old best friend from when she was a martial arts hero who kind of like saved the world, all that sort of jazz. And they together then with a third younger character, because both of these characters are older, they're like 40s, 50s, but then they meet a younger character who joins the crew. She also brings her dog, affectionately known as Dog, who's very, very funny. There's lots of great references to all the dumb stuff Dog is doing throughout the book. And the one other thing is that so the Reaver kidnapped her kids because she has something in her called the Millennium Chi, and the Millennium Chi is basically the accrued chi of all of her ancestors for like thousands of years, and so that is kind of basically that makes her like the most powerful martial artist on the planet, because she has this ostensibly infinite resource. So it's her with Remy, who's her old best friend, and this new character and they're basically kind of going around the world and like collecting MacGuffins and doing little side quests that all will lead up to this big confrontation with the Reaver. This story's so fun. It's JCM Berne says that the main character Arkana is kind of a Michelle Yeoh style character, so a character she would play in movies, and that really resonates. I think she's excellent. I was imagining Michelle Yeoh as I was reading the book, and it worked really well for me. I don't tend to visualize stuff all that much when I read books, but this time, because I had that kind of like helpful prompt, it was really easy for me to visualize. And I think that JCM Berne's writing is very descriptive, very active, and very fast-paced and fun and funny as well. There's lots of times I laughed. One of my favorite things is that Akina is like really pedantic. So you'll be like, oh, can I do so-and-so? And she'll be like, yeah, you can. And you'll be like, okay, am I allowed to do so-and-so? And that's kind of, and like that sort of thing comes up all the time, where she takes the literal meaning of the questions. She also says a lot of quite funny lines. All of the martial arts stuff, you can tell that JCM Berne's a martial artist, because there's loads of really good martial arts fighting in this book. Sorry, I just had to let Gus in. So here you go. Why don't you make yourself useful and sell a video to some people? Look, it's a cat. Hi, everyone. So Gus hated that because he doesn't like being picked up. So we've got this kind of really fun and kind of action-packed and funny prose style. We've got some really good characters, and they play a really good counterpoint to each other. So Remy is a lot more kind of laid back and relaxed and chill, and Akina is kind of a bit wound. I don't know, she's a bit more tightly wound. She's quite sarcastic, and she does not suffer fools. And then you have this third character, Zhu, who is younger, kind of thinks she knows. She's only like 16. She thinks she knows everything. She thinks she's the baddest of them all. And then, she meets these two characters and she's like, oh, she kind of realizes how little she knew before and how poorly she's been trained and looked after in the past. So, yeah, a really interesting cast of characters. I love reading this one. Now, the world is very interesting as well, because I was going into this one. So this is my fault for not, as you guys know, I don't read much about books or look into books really before I read them. And most of the time that serves me incredibly well. But this time I came up against a real disparity between what I was expecting, which I was expecting something that tied a bit closer into the hybrid helix, and I was also expecting something that was sci-fi, because I picked this as my first sci-fi book of the month, which I was going to be reading between two fantasy books. And really this is absolutely a fantasy, and the wuxia storytelling really, that's spelled W-U-X-I-A, by the way. The wuxia storytelling really works well in that kind of fantasy setting. I have heard of the Wedge, so they have been mentioned in the Hybrid Helix books. So there's, I think one of the characters, Rohan refers to a character as having died fighting the Wedge in a Wedge surge. And I wonder if the Wedge only come out on this planet, because that would be really interesting if this is the planet upon which somebody died that Rohan knew, or maybe it's going to be a going concern for Wedge in the future. Be interesting to see if also these characters, Akina, Remy, Zhu, etc., everyone who survives the book, not going to spoil it for you, if all of those people end up meeting up with Rohan and joining kind of the Hybrid Helix crew. The next Hybrid Helix book has Rohan fighting a dinosaur on the front cover, not unlike Partial Function. So a part of me is kind of like, well, that feels like it's pretty certain that there's going to be some sort of tie-in. And of course, JCM Berne has told me there will be a tie-in. However, yeah, this one was really interesting. And like I was saying, there was a bit of a disparity between my expectations, because I was expecting something that was like, I was kind of thinking like Chinese sci-fi Western, and it does still feel quite Western-y to me. It feels a lot like Seven Samurai, like not Seven Samurai, the Western movie that is based on Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven. So it feels a bit Magnificent Seven-y. It feels a lot like, it feels like kind of like that, get the gang back together, old cowboys, but with martial arts. So that, I think that works really, really well. I really, really enjoyed the kind of combination of genres. I like the writing style. Obviously, I like the writing style. I've read 4 books now by JCM Berne, and they're all really good, easy breezy reads. You can tell that this was a good, easy read because there's no audiobook. I've been insanely busy with work, and I still managed to read it in like 4 days. So you can tell a lot is going on here. I'm trying to get the cat to stop attacking my feet and climb up onto my lap. I don't think it's happening. I think he just wants to bite my feet. So, yeah, I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5. Again, similar to other Hybrid Helix books, I feel like we're in this building phase. Like we're building towards something really big and something really cool. And I'm I'm a bit worried of giving it I'm not worried about giving these 5 out of 5s. If I give all these books 5 out of 5, where do we have to go when they get better? And they have been getting better with every book. But the reason I gave this one a 5 out of 5, I thought it was really good. The way that all the fighting and all the action and all the combat was all very personal. It was not like large scale battles of well, this army's bigger than this army, so that army's going to win. It was very much like mano a mano, the conflicts were very personal. They were about the family. They were about betrayal. There were a lot of creative solutions to things, which I thought were really funny. There's a great bit where you could almost see it as Deus Ex Machina, where the characters are given a bomb, basically, at the exact time they kind of need one. And one of the other characters is like, what would you have done if we didn't have this bomb? And they were like, oh, we just fought our way out. And I thought that was quite funny, acknowledging the serendipitous nature of the bomb, etc., etc. So yeah, and this book is criminally under-reviewed. I think there were only 20 reviews on Goodreads right now. And I know it only came out a little while ago, but you could look at a Brandon Sanderson book that came out in September, or not even Brandon Sanderson. I bet you there's probably way, way more than 20 reviews of The Ice by Ryan Cahill, for example, also a self-published book. And I would definitely say that these books are approaching, they're approaching the Ryan Cahill quality of book. I'm really looking forward to reading the next one. Once I've read the next one, I am planning on asking Joe if he'll come on the channel. We've talked about it in the past, so I'm sure it'd be really fun to get to chat to him about all of these books. And then we can, keep in touch as the new books come out. We can come on and talk about them. Yeah, we do actually have a new book coming out in the Hybrid Helix this year. So that's really exciting. 2 of my favourite self-pub authors are releasing something this year. So Philip Chase and JCM Berne are both releasing books this year. I think both in the summer as well, which is pretty exciting. Ryan Cahill has pushed his book back to next year, but I understand because he is pretty directly competing with Stormlight 5, and who wants to compete at that sort of time frame? You know, they're both like 1,500 page long fantasy chunkers, and a lot of people only have time for one of those. So why not give yourself more writing time and delay to next year? Absolutely understand that. Yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about with this book. Like I was saying, it's criminally under-reviewed. So if you do read this book, please do make sure you put a review on Goodreads, put a review on Amazon if your review doesn't automatically poll through to Amazon, put a review on Storygraph. I need to do that one myself, so I will be putting a review on Storygraph soon. Probably just copy and paste the one from Goodreads, but no one needs to know. Yeah, so make sure you review this book, because reviews are so, like, everything that you hear about being an indie author is that that reviews on Goodreads especially, and platforms like Amazon, where you can read this book for free if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. That's how I read it. And you can even, so if you have that Kindle Unlimited subscription, and they are doing 3-month trials basically constantly, if you buy a new Kindle or you've bought a new Kindle in the last few years and you haven't tried Kindle Unlimited out, ask Amazon customer service and they will give you a free trial. I've had like 20 free trials of Kindle Unlimited. I do pay for it now, and I've been paying for it for, I think, since I started the channel, because I've been reading so many self-pub books. And I feel like every single month, a book that I want to read that month, and this isn't even like planned, but I feel like every single month there's a book that I want to read that is already on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm yeah, big fan of Kindle Unlimited, as much as I don't love how Amazon completely controls and owns the self-published book space. I do think that the offering of Kindle Unlimited is very good. So yeah, make sure you review, make sure you read, definitely read this one. You don't have to have read any of the Hybrid Helix series to read this. So please do, as I said, please do read this one, and read the Hybrid Helix books as well. If you enjoy this, if you enjoy the writing style in this, I would say the writing style is just as good in Hybrid Helix. So yeah, I think most people really enjoy this one. I've actually already recommended it to a few friends and been like, this is a kind of Michelle Yeoh style character in a martial arts Western fighting zombie dinosaurs. And I think that's a pretty cool pitch. Yeah, if you haven't read this one, read it. If you have read it, let me in the comments know what you thought. If you're planning to read this one after listening to this review, please let me know. And of course, like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you could, because every subscription helps, and I will speak to you tomorrow.